So with the recent roster release, I think we've really got a look now, with this being the final World Cup qualifying window, into the depth chart of Gregg Berhalter. And we'll focus on what I think his depth chart is for defenders and goalkeepers in this video. So goalkeepers, I do think Zach Steffen is his number one. Matt Turner would be his number two. And then Horvath, I think he was just waiting for Ethan Horvath to be more consistent with his minutes and form. And I think he's been all along his third goalkeeper. I'll say Sean Johnson is the fourth goalkeeper. And then Slonina would be just behind him as the fifth option there. But with our defense, we'll go four deep. And we'll give him kind of a look maybe into some other players who are kind of around possibly his radar there. But left back, it'll be Anthony Robinson. Then I think it would be Serginho Dest, Reggie Cannon, and George Bayo, I believe. Most notably, no Joe Scally. I think Joe Scally is just completely out of his depth chart now. The picture for Gregg Berhalter, and maybe things change when Nations League comes around, but he's not going to be he's not on the depth chart as a left back, and we'll see similar thing here at center back with John Brooks. So I would say left center back, I mean, Miles Robinson, and next to him would be Walker Zimmerman. Then I'd say Chris Richards would be the other option, the second option as a left center back. I guess Long would be on the right. I'm not being extremely accurate with the foot, I know, but then I think the third options would be James Sands and Eric Palmer Brown. Then I think the fourth options would probably be Mark McKenzie and Tim Ream. As I said, I just don't think Brooks is even on the radar at the moment. Apparently, he may be in the mix in Nations League from some of the comments made by Gregg Berhalter. But I just think Brooks is generally casted out of the U.S. men's national team. And at right back, I would go Serginho Dest as the first option, then DeAndre Yedlin, Reggie Cannon, Brooks Lennon. I think after that he'd maybe call up Shaq Moore. I think Joe Scally would be maybe sixth choice right back at this point. I mean, we saw Brooks Lennon called up in the last window. So yeah, it's just, again, I just don't think Joe Scally and John Brooks are on his radar whatsoever. I don't know what his issue is with that, but yeah, it's a bit disappointing. You see some players that are certainly should be in the mix. I think some guys who are kind of around would be maybe George Campbell. I think he's looked really good for at the moment recently for Atlanta United. I think he's much better technically than Miles Robinson. He's much better at reading the game. I think Miles Robinson just kind of uses a lot of his athletic ability to make up for his positioning issues, and he's just not. Miles Robinson's pretty average technically at best, but I'm not sure who else you guys think Berhalter might rate as a defender. I mean, we've seen Miazga around the picture as well. Of course, Sam Vines may be another left back option. He kind of maybe fifth or sixth option. And I just, again, don't think Joe Scally's on there. Jonathan Gomez, I think, really should be considered as a third option for left back. I mean, obviously, I don't mind Serginho Dest playing there, but I still think it should be, personally, I would have Robinson, Scally, Gomez, Bayo as my left back depth in my left back depth chart for sure. But we'll move on to what I think is rated as a center mid and the midfielder CDM, the 2/8s in Gregg's system. So moving on here as a CDM, I think I would be Adams, Acosta, Sands, and I think we'll say Jackson Ewell as the fourth option. Maybe Johnny Cardoso is in the mix there as well. But that's who I'd say as a CDM that Berhalter tends to rate. I mean, I'd prefer to never see Jackson Ewell on the U.S. men's national team kit again, but we've seen him in the Bosnia friendly as well as Cardoso, so I think those two are kind of seen as the third and fourth options. I personally wouldn't mind seeing Eric Palmer Brown. I do rate him. I think he'd actually be a very good defensive mid. He played there for the U.S. men's youth national teams for the USU-20s, and he actually looked very good. He's good on the ball. He reads the game well. If anything happens, I really wouldn't mind seeing Eric Palmer Brown actually get maybe some minutes as a CDM late in a match in this World Cup qualifying window. But moving on to the center mids, of course, I would say Musa, McKennie are the first choice options as the 8s. Then I think behind them would be Luca de la Torre and Gianluca Busio. Man, I don't want to say Busio, but Gianluca Busio. Then I'd say behind, I would say Sebastian Lletget and Rodan. Then the fourth options would probably be Cole Bassett, Georgi Mihalovic, I think would be the other options there as the 8s. It's unfortunate because I do think some guys like An Sonora should really get a look but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Maybe Nations League hopefully we'll see some rotations, and other players get opportunities over the summer. But moving on to the attackers, we'll go, the wingers and the strikers. On the left, I'd say Pulisic, Aronson, Morris, then Conrad would be the fourth option as a winger. Unfortunately, Conrad's another player who's going to kind of cast it out. He hasn't played as much recently, so I can kind of understand that. It makes some sense. He's not played as much recently, so it's unfortunate because I do think he's a player who could just really benefit from at least being in camp. Even if he's not playing, I think he'd really benefit from being around and learning Gregg's quote-unquote system. But we kind of see the usual guys, and Morris and Ariel on the wing. But striker, this is a difficult one because I do think Pepe would be his first choice generally if he was in form, but I think he's really going to rely on Jesus Ferreira in this window. So I have Pepe as number 1, but Ferreira as number 2, and he's going to play quite a bit, I think, in this upcoming window. And I think Pifok is number 3 because of his form, but in reality, I still think Zardes is his 4th option, even if he's not playing. I think Sargent maybe would be the 5th option. I think that's about how it would look for Gregg Berhalter. I think Pepe, Ferreira, Pifok, Zardes, then maybe like Sargent as the 5th option. The right wing, I think Reina is going to be is still his first choice. I didn't put Reina as an option in the midfield because I don't think he's really ever going to get played in the midfield, unfortunately, because Berhalter is just very stubborn with his tactics. But first choice would be Reina. I think Weah would be the second choice, and we'd see Areola as the third. And I think the 4th would probably be like Rodon or Morris on that right wing if they ever had to play. And hopefully we don't see them too often this upcoming World Cup window. But so in the end, this was just kind of a video with like an educated guess on what Gregg Berhalter's depth chart is based off of this kind of whole past year, looking at some of the selections in Nations League, Gold Cup, and this the whole duration of these World Cup qualifiers. Let me know if you'd like to see eventually in a video what some players I would like to see implemented in the national team for Nations League. I have a couple of video ideas based on some players in MLS I think could maybe make a late push into the World Cup rosters. There's quite a few who haven't been called up recently who have been performing, especially a couple of the guys in FC Dallas certainly could get a look eventually. But with that, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button. I love you. Peace out now, and I'll catch you guys later.